We've started the recording. Welcome in. It's our Design 350 lab on Friday. I've got a couple of things to go over. One, I want to go over how to read that your site is level. And then I think we need to look at the submittal template and see what's required there. So I'm going to look at that. And right now, first, and it's right down here. Welcome in JR, survey record, and drawing. Yes, so what I'd like to see, now in this case it's not too bad because we're doing the same survey every time. So what I would like to see over here is your survey records over here, and you could maybe put, you know, yeah. Oh, darn it. There we go. Thank you. There we go. So your drawing can be over here, and as you recall, we had one drawing with them all kind of on top of each other. And then you can just put your survey records over here. So you might need 2 pages depending on how many of them you did. But since this week all of the drawings are of exactly the survey is just the same thing over and over again, you're going to have one drawing with all of the surveys plastered on top of each other like I showed on Wednesday, but I want to see the multiple survey records that you've done. And depending on how those look, you can do that different ways. Now I want to show because I saw a couple where maybe the readings are not, your elevations are not going to be right because of how this looks. So I want to reiterate how this goes. So I drew one up. So here, remember, your horizontal degrees has to bracket one of the numbers. Okay, so in this case I've got 229 and 50 minutes. 229 degrees because it's bracketing this, it's 50 minutes. And then I go to the top and figure out what's next. So it's 52, and this is like 43. 43, somewhere around there. So most of you are getting this, but I'm seeing some of the images posted where you're not bracketing the number. So remember, you have to do your fine adjustment so that your degrees brackets one of these numbers, the lines. And then that becomes your primary number of minutes, and you add what you see up here. So it's 2 and 40, maybe 3 or 4, something like that. Okay? So be sure that you get those ones set. And then up here you can see my vertical is not level. The 90 needs to be in between these two. Okay, the 90 needs to be in between the 0 hash marks. So this one is definitely not level. And if you're not level, we saw from a lecture yesterday that you might be off, on 100 feet, you might be off by a quarter of a foot, which is 3 inches, right? Or a quarter of an inch that might be, still a quarter of an inch off. So you really need to get this lined up in there. So it should, you start moving that adjustment knob until you get it to look like this. You should have the 90 line in between those somewhere. And I could even get a little closer still, right? But this is getting pretty good. On 50 to 100 feet away, this is a pretty small distance that you're off due to being not perfectly level. And we'll talk more about how to get better and more perfectly level and other things later on. But so the things to remember when you take your images, okay, your degree marker, the two hash marks, has to be around one of these. Okay, so if it's in between, it's not good. Okay, and the closer to center you get, the better, but it doesn't really matter. So long as you're around the two, okay, and then you read the minutes by which one is getting pegged by those two, and then you add on the number that you see up above. So it's 50 minutes plus 2, and then we get into 43. And this is why I want those images posted if you can, because the people that aren't here don't get this, right? It's like, don't get how to do it. And if you can't take the image, at least just write down the numbers and try to get those. Okay, so that's what I had to go over for the lab, and then you guys can just go out and get some more. Any questions on that? Actually, let me just do one other thing. I'm going to open up my rectified. Is this my rectified? No. I hope I kept my one that was rectified. Well, now I don't know where I I don't know where I stored my one that had them all put on top of each other. So I was just going to go show that you could put this on there plus all the data sheets, but that's okay. There we go. All right, then I'm going to stop the recording